it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, I'm Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. Today, I have a fascinating woman with a great accent, I'm going to tell you. I love when we have women leaders from all over the place bringing their stories, their backgrounds, their joy. And Angela Cross is just that women leader. She's a reputation strategist and a pilot PR specialist with 2 decades in corporate PR and crisis and management issues. She's brought together a business that really makes a difference. She has a huge heartfelt empathy and value system behind women leaders. And not exclusively, but it's just, she loves to talk about this, which when we were talking, I was like, you have to be a guest on Her Success Story. So Angela, thank you for being here today.
Hi, Ivy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
So share first with our audience, you're coming in from where?
Sydney, Australia.
I love it. I love it. So both my kids have been to Sydney and mom hasn't gotten there yet. So I'm coming, Angela, you wait.
Well, we'll have to meet in person when you do.
So how did this start? How'd your background in PR and crisis and issue management, where did this start from?
It started, from what I understand, for many women after I had my first baby. I'd worked in PR consulting for, a long time, like maybe 10 or 15 years when I sort of took some time out to have him. And I wanted to go back to work. That was always my plan. But when the reality of me and my husband both working in, big jobs sort of dawned on me, I sort of started considering other ways that I could work in ways that I could still help companies and do the PR work that I was really passionate about, but maybe have a little bit more flexibility so that I could be available to my family, sort of over the coming years, because now that one baby has gone to 3 school-age children and it's working out really well because I'm doing work that I love, in a way that I can sort of fit around what my family needs as well.
So when you started this, what were some of the first things you did to get this started and bringing your expertise forward to start running this and seeing this as a business model?
Look, 2 things I think that made it feel maybe more achievable and less daunting. It wasn't like I just sort of launched my business one day and had no clients and sort of had to create that, because I think that's a really big load when you've already got a really busy sort of home life. It's a lot to do. So I had some sort of unique opportunities. The first was that I was able to do some work with a previous boss, who was also a friend, still is a friend, and do some work through her business. So that allowed me to, work with someone I loved working with and just sort of get right into it from day one. And the other was that...
By the way, I love when we have the relationships with our previous bosses, employers, that we could walk out with our first contract. First opportunity and create the cash flow that allows us to build a company, as well as staying true to the values that are important to you.
Yeah, I think that's right, because otherwise that cash flow can be a hump that sort of holds us back. And we think, because you don't really know how long it's going to take, right, to sort of bring in your first client, or, what that sort of aspect of the business is going to look like. So that really helped me to say, okay, this feels like the right direction for me and my career and, my life right now. And the other aspect of it was that in the consulting work that I'd done, I was fortunate enough that I had some clients that had come with me across different consultancy firms that I'd worked for. And so I felt like if I went out on my own, I sort of crossed my fingers that they might come with me again. And I was fortunate enough that happened too. So I had I guess a start that gave me some confidence to kind of take that step and, start out on my own, as they say.
And I will say that confidence piece is huge.
It is.
Those first, I know when I transitioned from my printing company to opening Slater Success, I was very confident in what I was doing, but I wasn't so confident in this. And
Yes.
building those first steps, those first contracts, the first clients was huge in seeing what I can do and what we can do as women leaders.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that when you do start to have children, women are already going through a really big shift in who we are and what we value and what we want from life. And to layer over that, the how do I build a business and what do I need to learn, and building up that confidence in, that aspect of your life as well, it can be a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long, and you've been in business how long now?
11 years.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. So, when I first started out, I was very much doing the work that I'd been doing before I'd gone on maternity leave. So, corporate public relations, issues management, sort of like whole of business reputation work. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, I had an executive referred to me who had been in an unfortunate situation in terms of being the director of a company that had been found guilty of investor fraud. The media had reported on the case, and that media coverage was 10 years old. But when you put his name into a search engine, all of the media coverage came up, even though
Everything
it was
comes
really
up,
out
it
of
never
date.
goes away,
Never goes
especially in
away.
media and social media. Those things don't go away.
They don't go away, which can be really hard for a person who deserves a second chance and really deserves to put that kind of thing behind them. But when someone's been through something as traumatic as that, you sort of go and almost do the opposite of what you should be doing, and people effectively go and hide. So they might, take down all their social media and just not be visible online. So that old content stays there because there's been nothing new to replace it. And he sort of came saying, look, in the field that I work in, people are looking me up all the time. I want to move on, and he deserved to move on. So we started working together on how he could do that. And what that did for me was, I guess, plant the idea that maybe there were business leaders out there who weren't in as an extreme situation as what he was, but who needed help with their reputation. And, being of a certain level, so C-suite or a business owner, managing director, that kind of thing, really needed to be able to get it right from the start.
It's interesting because we can't ignore what it is to put out a very positive, right, story, right? The backstory, the cadence of a story of a business, of the leaders of the business, and be open to. I could speak for Slater Success, not that we had anything like that happen, but it was 15 years ago, we were a very different company than what we are now. Our messaging was different than what we are now.
Mm.
And everything evolved. But if we don't keep our content and our image current today, we put ourselves in a vulnerable position. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I completely agree. And I like what you said there. It is an evolution. But I think that as business leaders, when you're starting to be visible, you've got probably, most leaders have decades of experience behind them. So when you want to start being visible, whether it's on social media, in the media, speaking at conferences, you want how, polished and professional you are on those platforms to reflect how polished and professional you are, in the boardroom, within your company and that kind of thing. And it can be a hard link to make. And so that's really where I sort of work with leaders who want to build their reputation, want to, get it right from the start. But a lot of the time, leaders put pressure on themselves to be a thought leader from day one and have their messaging completely buttoned down and their thought leadership topics known and completely thought through. But reputation is an evolution, just like business is an evolution. And what you start being visible about now won't necessarily be what you're being visible about in 5 or 10 years' time, because you will have changed, your business will have changed, and everything around you will have changed as well.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I love what you're saying, because we have to stay in and look at the messaging of how the world is evolving, right? Everything in various countries are evolving. Um, Conferences have evolved. Look how conferences have evolved, from the pandemic, and then we
Mhm.
went virtual, then we went hybrid, now we're back in person, and our
Mhm.
and our cadence with it has to evolve as well. If not, we're not doing ourselves and our brands a good service.
That's right. And in terms of service, like thinking of it as service can be a really good way to get past the discomfort. Because when you talk about visibility, a lot of leaders feel like, oh, I don't want it to look like I just want the attention on me. But leaders have so much value to add. Like, you've got decades of knowledge behind you that you can share with the people who are going to follow you into the C-suite, with the people that you lead. It builds trust. It's an employee engagement tool. There's so much around it that goes beyond just, getting attention.
It is true. It is so much around it. And let me ask you this. So, as your business has evolved, what have you seen evolve for you as our kids get older? Our business evolves, and we start things from one place, and then our kids get older. So there's the business evolution and that interaction of the working mom evolution.
Mm.
What have you seen evolve for
What have
you
I
as
seen?
far as running a business from home, or have you?
Oh, I definitely have. I would say, like so many people, the pandemic obviously had a really big impact on my business. A good one. Prior to the pandemic, most of my clients were based in Sydney, probably because we wanted that face-to-face relationship. That was great. I live and work in Sydney. That's where my network is. It all came from, that space. But the pandemic really changed that. For me, I have, clients overseas, I have clients across the country. Location, like for so many of us, really doesn't matter anymore. We can do what we're doing right now and get on Zoom and have a conversation and really do the work that needs to be done. So there's that aspect of my business that has changed. One thing that I'm really passionate about, you touched on at the beginning, I work with a range of leaders, like both women and men, helping them to shape their reputations. But I'm really passionate about helping women elevate their visibility. And what I do, have been able to do to reach more women and have greater impact, who may not necessarily be able to work with me one-on-one, is going in and being able to give masterclasses or do webinars or run workshops and that kind of thing, and really coach women on how they can be comfortable with being visible in their leadership and how they can overcome any barriers that they may have. So they're probably the two biggest changes that I've seen recently. I guess, let's say in the past 5 years to my business. I think for me personally, and
I'm gonna
how
jump
I
in here
oh,
for a second,
go.
because it's so interesting. Women very often shy back or shy away when the
Mhm.
spotlight's on them.
Yes.
I think we're very, very good at highlighting all the people around us. I think we do that exceptionally well. And
Mhm.
I think we struggle, and I'll say myself included, is to remember to take that spotlight on ourselves as well. Our accomplishment, what we represent, who we are, what we've built. And there is training needed there to own our brilliance and allow that spotlight to shine while we're shining the spotlight on others to all rise and grow together.
That's right. Because, women leaders, just like, male leaders, have expertise and knowledge and just decades of experience to share with the people who are going to follow them. For women leaders, I think it's sort of twofold in terms of the importance of being visible. One is the more visible women leaders that we have, we show the women who are going to follow them that a leadership career is possible. It's possible to, start and grow your own business. It's possible to be the CEO of a company, sort of whatever you want from your career, it's possible. But then we also have the aspect of balancing or closing the gap between how visible male leaders are in their leadership and how visible their female equals are, because there is a gap there. You're right, women tend to focus on running the business, looking after their people, and that kind of thing, whereas men, they absolutely do that too, but they also incorporate visibility.
Right.
And then it just looks like the norm that men are business leaders, and if we can support women to do that more, then we make women in leadership roles look like the norm too.
I love that. What has surprised you in building this company over the years?
The thing that has surprised me is that having your own business is like a living thing. And yes, it comes with great things like flexibility and the ability to be creative and, serve people. But it's a living thing in that it will take as much as you feed it. So it's really up to you to put boundaries around your business and to know what success looks like and to know where to put your effort in, because there's so much to do, in everyday life, like there is for everyone today. But there's always something more you could be doing. But there's, all different pieces of the pie that make up a great life. So yes, your business is going to be a big part of that, but it's up to you to put the boundaries in place.
Our business, I'll always say, is it's another child.
Exactly.
When you're saying it's a living, breathing thing, I'm like, yes, it's like another baby. And it goes through stages. It has infancy, it has toddler, and it's going to fall down a bunch when they're learning to walk, and they're going to
Mhm.
spit some food out at you. And it goes through different stages very, very much like raising a child. And as you talking about boundaries, it's like, yes, and we have to give that child a little bit of independence, right? We have to keep a structure
Yes.
around it. Children, to my opinion, children thrive when there's structure, when there's boundaries. And the business is the same way.
I absolutely agree. I really like that analogy. I think it's perfect.
What is your vision as we come to this point in the show? What's your vision for your business and yourself for the future?
Coming up with ways to help more women be visible in their leadership. So, building out, giving more masterclasses, reaching more women and educating them on the importance of being visible in leading their business, but also giving them the tools to be able to start doing it. Because it's like anything, it doesn't matter how small we start as long as we start. And we can, like a business, we can build it out from there. And sort of once you start being visible and you get comfortable with that one thing you might be doing, then you can build on that and add something else and build on that. And before you know it, your reputation and your visibility is much bigger than what you thought it would be, but it's also delivering results for you that you didn't realize that it could. So really that's where I'm taking my business now.
What's one tip you would leave behind for other women leaders who are building and scaling or stepping into their own visibility and leadership?
For stepping into their visibility, I would say if you're a female leader who knows that you'd like to be working on your reputation or building your visibility, but there's something holding you back, And it can be one of a range of things. It can be, your time poor, which most leaders already are, but it can be you're uncomfortable with having attention on you. It would be to figure out what that barrier is. Because if you figure out what that barrier is, then you can figure out how to overcome it. And often it can
So it's
be,
identifying what's holding you back. It's identifying
yeah,
what that block is, because once we understand what it is, then we can create the actions.
that's right. And then the actions come from knowing your, like so many things, knowing your why for why you want to be visible. Because if you know why you want to be visible, whether it's going to grow your business faster, it's going to be an employer branding tool, it's sort of going to take your business where you want it to go. It might be speaking out on an important topic.
Mhm.
If you know your why, then you're going to stick with it even when you're busy, or times are hard, or you're being pulled in a million different directions.
I love that. Well, Angela, thank you for joining me here today at Her Success Story.
Thank you so much, Ivy. I've loved chatting with you.
And listeners, this is what I say at this point in the show: take a breath and think about the one thing, your aha, your takeaway from Angela and I's conversation. What was that one thing? Write it down somewhere. You could put it in your phone, you could put it on a piece of paper, it doesn't matter. And then make the decision of what the one action you're going to do about that. And that's our gift to you. If this was a helpful episode, please pass it forward to other people, as well as hit subscribe. We come into your inbox or your podcast apps or your newsletters or whatever it is every week with great interviews like Angela today and wonderful insight from wonderful leaders. So thank you again for joining us here today at Her Success Story. See you next time.